can never leave. Do the same, we can't go back, this is all we need. Follow me to make believe and make your dreams come true. This night means forever and so does me and you. We say we love, we say we love. We gave it all, we gave it all. We say we love, we say we love. But we were just innocent until something better came along.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the Chief Executive of TSA, Alison Scurfield.
Good morning. This feels surreal being here. 2.5 years since October 2019. Welcome. It's just such a special day for the tech sector, for the TSA, to see so many familiar faces in the audience and see so many speakers coming along and want to take on this journey with us. I would like to personally start by reflecting what I can only describe as an incredible journey. I want to thank you personally on behalf of the TSA and Tech Quality Boards. Our sincere gratitude to you for this fabulous response and commitment and support to the most vulnerable in our society during the pandemic. It is also a time for celebration. The incredible innovation, energy and determination of the tech sector has demonstrated over the last 2 years. We have wonderful examples during the conference, from policy and strategy through to strong implementation, good practice and much more, giving you all some wonderful opportunities to truly experience personalisation and what good really looks like for people. Our conference theme for this year is on unlocking personalised outcomes, chiming with the ambitions to truly put people at the heart of care and to deliver the right care at the right place at the right time. My call to action to you all is to continue to think big. And how do we embrace and enhance technology-enabled care offers back in our communities? You have time over the next 48 hours to get that headspace and to be inspired during the time that you're at conference. The exciting programme will take you on a journey to excellence, from policy strategy through to implementation, the what, the why, but through to the practical delivery of the how. The programme's been built on strong foundations and our ambitions for personalised innovation care model, our recommendations for a reformed model of care, and the key enablers to elevate your service offers and truly integrate technology-enabled care through inspired leadership, empowering our communities and our workforce, and of course, effective co-production and collaboration. Here on Plenary, you will hear from key policy makers in government, followed by the launch of our reformed innovation stage in the heart of Exhibition Hall, where we'll hear from the strategic leaders across the UK and their insights, their strong implementation ideas, but most importantly, the real-life case studies and user stories. You will hear the exciting launches of quality auditing and workforce development tools and the launch of the virtual house. Tonight, we will host the iTech Sector Awards at our prestigious gala dinner. iTech Awards represent innovation, integration and improvement, and our shortlisted entries have demonstrated benefits and quality outcomes for users, carers and their communities, and recognising the excellence and outstanding achievements within the tech sector. May I take this opportunity to thank our headline sponsors, Anthropos, Legrand Care, Taking Care and Carium. I would also like to thank all of our industry partners for their incredible collaboration and contribution and support during the pandemic. Your tremendous support is really greatly appreciated across the sector. Now moving on to today's plenary. I'm delighted to welcome Paul Burstow, our chair and our conference chair for today. Paul's extensive knowledge, first-hand knowledge of care sector has positioned him really well over the past 5.5 years to influence and support the tech sector. As independent chair of Hertfordshire and West Essex Integrated Care System, he is working with partners across local government, NHS, community and voluntary sectors to develop population health and integrated care. Paul combines his leadership and involvement in social care with a focus on technology-enabled care. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Sir David Pearson, Chair of Tech Quality, the subsidiary organisation to TSA that has the only validated quality service framework in the UK. He is passionate about choice and control for people whose social care and health and the quality and effectiveness of services. David's background as Deputy Chief Exec in Nottingham County Council and his government roles as Senior Advisor on Social Care Reform led him to his vital role during COVID-19 as Senior Social Care Lead for Government. He then led the Social Care Task Force on the delivery and take-up of vaccine boosters and social care. David is also a System Partnership Advisor on the integration of health and social care. Wow! He has been busy over the last 2.5 years. His commitment and passion for social care was recognised in 2016 as David was awarded his CBE. But he was also awarded a knighthood in 2021 New Year's Honours for his services to health and social care integration. I hope you have a fantastic 2 days and look forward to sharing with you tomorrow on stage at the closing plenary where I will set out our ambitions for the sector. Now, moving on to today's plenary, may I welcome to the stage your chair for today, Paul Burstow.
Thank you very much, Alison. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's great to see so many new faces and so many people who've been to our conferences over the years. It doesn't feel like 2.5 years. It feels less than that, but it really is great that so many of you are here today to join us and take part in what we think is going to be a really special celebration of this sector, but also an opportunity to look forward to what comes next for us as a sector. And our theme this year is all about unlocking personalised outcomes. And over the next 2 days, we will be exploring how each of the UK 4 home nations has interpreted that idea and is progressing technology-enabled care agendas. And all of you, I hope by now, have had a chance to download the app that will provide you access to the conference program and many other resources so you can get the full benefits of today's conference. And we're going to just do a little test drive with that app now. So if you can get it up on your phones, if you've got it already, and if not, start downloading it so you can use it later. But one of the features when you open that app as you get to the landing page is not only does it have the program there, but it also has a feature called live polling. And if you click on the live polling icon, which is at the bottom of the screen, you will see that it then has the 2 days of our conference. If you click on Monday, 28th of March, you'll then see that it gives the 2 time slots for the auditorium sessions. And if you click on the one at 10 o'clock, hopefully there will be a question. And that question is, how far have you travelled today? This is just a warm-up question. We might have some other questions about technology later on. And if you just now have opened that, if you click the right box for yourself, and we'll just do a couple of seconds to see how far people have come. If we can reveal the answer and what people have said, that would be great. It's always good to test these things at the beginning of the day. Right. So between 100 and 200 miles is the bulk of this audience. Well, thank you very much for travelling so far to be with us today. I hope you really enjoy the event today. But that's just to get us all familiar with the technology and how we're going to use the app, and there'll be a number of live polls as the event goes on. So moving back to my slides, if we may. So having welcomed you and having started this conference in the way that Alison has already done, I just want to maybe shift the tone and the gear ever so slightly to just reflect on the fact that whilst this is not the venue to discuss in any detail the war that is taking place in Ukraine. I don't think there is any event anywhere in this country that cannot, at a very human level, want to just reach out and play its part in recognizing what is going on and responding to it. And at our conference, again, through that app, there is a means by which people can do a very basic thing, which is make a contribution to the charities that are doing all they can to support refugees and others during this amazingly difficult time. So please do take the opportunity to have a look at the app and do what you can to support. Now, it's just over 2 years since the Prime Minister made his TV announcement that we were going into the first of our lockdowns in response to the pandemic. And obviously at that time, we as a nation knew very little about what COVID-19 would mean for us and for our lives. And the truth is, the pandemic is not over. How we live our lives and how we live with it has changed. And over the past 24 months, the tech sector has learned and adapted too. And for us at the TSA, the most important thing, the bottom line, if you like, has always been clear. It has been about keeping people safe. And during that first wave and during the first response stages of the pandemic, the TSA, our staff, working with you in the sector, pivoted our efforts to getting alongside colleagues to secure things like key worker status for key workers so that we had access to PPE, and making sure that the business continuity that you had was robust and that you were supported to really bring that into full effect so that people continued to have access to those vital lifelines and services. I would also just like to say a big thank you to the Department of Health and Social Care for the funding it provided to the TSA during that period to enable us to carry on that work and scale it up. Not just delivering the service, but also learning as well. And in fact, a key part of our approach over the last 2 years in our COVID response has been to listen, has been to learn, and has been to lead. And that has, I think, been the hallmark of our approach as an organisation with Alison's leadership over the last 5-6 years. And we have learned so much in these past 2 years that has confirmed the direction of travel that we have been taking as an organisation. And I just want to talk through 4 key pointers that come out of all of these reports and pieces of work that the TSA has done with many in the sector and beyond over the last 5 years. The first is, I hope now blindingly obvious, but needs to be restated nonetheless. And we said it first clearly in 2016. That for the tech sector to fulfill its potential, we had to put the lives of people who use our services at the heart of designing our services. We had to make sure that we co-produced with them the solutions that were right for them. And that remains an absolutely core value of the TSA and what we want to do. And secondly, something I learned when I was a care minister in the Department of Health in England was that whilst we as an organisation have argued that the service model we put around people is key and that has to be co-produced and person-centred, it is incredibly easy to be dazzled by the bright, shiny kit. But the bright, shiny kit only delivers if we wrap the right service models around it to leverage it to deliver its full potential. And also, we have advocated consistently that since 2019 in particular, that we see the tech sector having to contribute to population health management and play its role along with other partners in delivering that approach that shifts the dial on population health, and that we need to mobilise models of technology-enabled care that are predictive, are proactive, are preventative. And over the last 2 years, we have seen real innovation in those sorts of models, and we'll be hearing about that on the innovation stage and on this stage during the conference. And then finally, a challenge that we have posed to this sector over the last few years, and particularly as we emerge from the response phase of the pandemic and begin to build for the future. The question remains, is this a sector that wants to disrupt and make new markets, or are we a sector that just wants to hold on to what we have and defend? Now, I don't think we are just a defender. We are actually playing offensive. We want to go and win an argument for why this is a sector that needs to be invested in to enable us to grow and offer more services to more people. And this week we will be setting out our plans for a new action alliance to widen the appeal of the tech sector and bring in others to really increase the reach of the sector to get our message across. Now, this is a busy slide, but as I've said, we've learned a lot over the last few years. And our TSA ADAS Commission that was published last year gathered the best innovation in service delivery and technology. And I believe it set out a clear agenda and a call to action around which policymakers and commissioners and the sector can deliver a key change. And there are 4 pillars to this. The first is that we need to be proactive and co-producing. The second is that we need to have the right digital infrastructure and the human skills investment that can use that infrastructure to best effect. Thirdly, that we have people owning and in control of their own data. And fourthly, that collaboration is essential to the delivery of the transformation that we want to effect. And of course, some of that, and I'm not going to steal other people's thunder later on, but I just want to make reference to it and acknowledge it. The English Social Care White Paper echoed these ideas and many more, and committed resources to mobilising care tech and a digital future for social care. So I'm really delighted that the Care Minister, Gillian Keegan, has recorded a special message for us today at our conference, and I look forward to Michelle Dyson, the Director General, saying more about that in her remarks in a little while. Because the case for change is compelling. And that case for change around personalised, preventative and proactive approaches is essential if we are to close the gap that is forever widening between the supply of service and the need for service in our country. We see this in our workforce pressures, in health, in social care, and we see it in rising demand across the board in health and social care and housing services. And it's also why I'm really looking forward to Alison Scurfield's presentation later on about this model that Alison first talked about 6 years ago, but actually over the course of the last 2 years we have refined through the heat of responding in practice to the pandemic and delivering more preventative services that genuinely try and slow down that progression of need. And I think that what we see is this model exists in our country, but at the moment it's not evenly distributed, it's poorly distributed, and we need to make sure we learn lessons. And I put this slide up really just to make the point that greater collaboration and integration, and I say this as a chair, to be a chair of an integrated care board in the not too distant future, are really at the heart of the reform agendas in all 4 home nations, and making that shift towards a more preventative and self-care really are the goals of healthcare, not just in the UK, but actually around the world. And managing multiple long-term conditions and enabling people to make their lives as independent and fulfilled as possible really is at the heart of those population health approaches. And I make no apology for putting this up, because this is the TSA's vision. It's born of experience, which I hope I've demonstrated in these remarks just now. It's been tested by the pandemic, and it drives everything the TSA does. And that's why we are sharing our plans for the Technology-Enabled Care Action Alliance over the next 2 days to create new platforms, to amplify the messages that we want to get out there, and to deliver the transformation that we need to make. So I hope you will enjoy this conference. I hope you will find it a great networking opportunity, a great learning opportunity, and a great opportunity for you to sell your stories as well. I hope you enjoy the plenary and the rich content that we have put in place. We are at a tipping point. We all play a part in making sure the tip tips. So thank you all very much. I'm now going to move on to introducing the Minister's video. Thank you all very much.
Good morning, and thank you to the TSA for inviting me to speak with you today, and I'm really sorry I cannot be there in person. The theme of this year's conference, Unlocking Personalised Outcomes, really resonates with the vision for the future of adult social care that we set out in our recent white paper, People at the Heart of Care. In the words of the white paper, this is all about providing the right care in the right place at the right time. This should mean that my housing arrangements, the practical care and support I access, the technology I use, and the community I live in all work together to meet my preferences. For everyone, a home is about more than just bricks and mortar from which it is built. It is a place we build emotional bonds with, we make memories in, and we want to be happy in. Living in a home that keeps you safe and independent also improves your health and well-being. In the longer term, the right home can delay or even completely avoid the need to move into residential care. So in our white paper, People at the Heart of Care, we announced new investment in housing of at least £300 million over the next 3 years to connect housing with health and care and drive the stock of new supported housing. And a key pillar of this is encouraging and supporting local areas to develop a plan embedding housing in broader health and care strategies. Of course, the majority of those who draw on care and support live in mainstream or non-specialised housing. So an important theme of our reform ambition and of today's conference is helping people make those existing homes work better for them through adaptations and through the opportunities opened up by technology. We all know just how important traditional adaptations like showers, ramps and stair lifts are for hundreds of thousands of people, and they still account for around 3/4 of the Disabled Facilities Grant. Just one of the reasons why we've announced that the Disabled Facilities Grant will continue for a further 3 years, and we will be consulting on some reforms to the grant later in the year. But increasingly, digital technology like smart devices, wearables and sensor technologies will support people to continue to live the life they choose and provide comfort to family and friends that their loved ones are safe. It is also clear that digital technologies are an essential enabler for us to deliver personalised social care that is highly integrated with the NHS. In the Integration White Paper, we set out our vision for a truly joined-up health and care system where multidisciplinary teams of nurses, therapists, care workers and GPs can all access information about a person's care through a single functional health and care record. Together we can build on the innovations driven by the pandemic to, for example, remote video consultations and improved access to information, and take the opportunity to ensure that every provider and every member of the social care workforce is able to join in this mission. And that's why we've announced investment of at least £150 million to drive rapid digitisation over the next 3 years. This funding will support providers to adopt digital social care records and other tools like acoustic monitoring tools that can help prevent falls. It will also support providers to put the essential building blocks in place to enable digital transformation and deliver a comprehensive digital learning offer for the social care workforce. We are on the cusp of an exciting transformation for social care, where we see unprecedented integration with NHS partners and the technology and capability to deliver new models of care to deliver improvement in people's lives. The Social Care Reform White Paper also sets out how we will support those innovators who are reimagining the very models by which we commission and deliver services to provide more personalised care. We know that the sector has many impressive innovators, but there is still a real challenge embedding these new ideas at scale, and we want to bring this proven good practice from the margins to the mainstream. That's why we've announced that we would provide up to £30 million for an innovative models of care programme to support local systems to implement innovative models of care sustainably and at scale. This funding will support local places to address some of the underlying barriers to scaling up innovations and support them to manage the risks that always come with doing something new. None of these elements individually provides all the answers in isolation, of course. Really providing the personalised care for which we are all committed is about bringing all of these things together with the wishes and needs of the person at the centre. Every decision about care needs to include all the facets of a person's life, their family, their friends, their community, their housing, their work, and how we can use the potential of innovation and technology to do this. So I hope you have a really productive day as you continue to work together in partnership towards that ambition.
It always feels odd whether you should clap a video, but I think we should acknowledge it and thank the Minister for her presentation. And that was Gillian Keegan, who's the Minister of State at the Department of Health and Social Care. We're very grateful for her making the time to take part and be involved in our conference. So now we have a couple of presentations, and then there's an opportunity for some questions from yourselves. So I'm really delighted to invite to this podium Michelle Dyson. She's the Director General for Adult Social Care at the Department of Health and Social Care. Over to you, Michelle.
Well, it's really, really wonderful to be here with you. This is the first in-person conference I have done since I've been in this job, and it's just so magnificent to actually be able to see real live people. So thank you very much for inviting me here today. TSA is such an important partner for us in central government. And I should say this, since I'm speaking alongside Caroline, I should say the English government. And I've had the pleasure of meeting with Alison and Paul on many occasions. I'm always struck by their passion for using technology to deliver more personalised care, and we've heard from them on this this morning, because our goal, our collective goal, isn't about increasing the use of technology as an end in itself. It's about harnessing the power of tech to improve everyday outcomes for those who rely on or work in care, using tech as a power for wider transformation. So today is a really valuable and exciting opportunity for me to talk about the English government's vision, the role of tech in that vision, and to speak directly to many of the people who are going to play a key part in this transformation over the coming years. So you've now heard a couple of times about our landmark white paper that we published in December, but I make no apology for referring to it again, because it is our 10-year vision for social care, named People at the Heart of Care. We developed this vision for reform in partnership with over 200 organisations, including TSA, and lots of people with lived experience of drawing on care and support. Our plan is founded on 3 principles, which, you won't be surprised, bear a striking resemblance to the values of TSA that Paul spoke about. So the 3 principles are that everybody should have choice, control, and support to lead independent lives, that everyone should be able to access outstanding personalised care and support, and that care should be fair and accessible for everyone who needs it. And it's backed by investment of £5.4 billion over the next 3 years. I'm really proud that People at the Heart of Care recognise the fundamental role of technology in supporting our reform ambitions, best reflected, as you've heard, through our commitment to invest at least £150 million to drive rapid digitisation. And to me, actually, the investment in technology alongside the investment in data are just absolutely fundamental planks of our overall reform package. They may not be the things that hit the headlines in the newspapers, but without them, we won't achieve the transformation that we're after. Last week, the Secretary of State for Health and Care, Sajid Javid, spoke at the Care England conference, and he reiterated his view that technology is not just a nice to have, or something that the IT team should care about. It's a necessity for the vision we all share for a more integrated health and care system that delivers outstanding, safe care wherever people need it. Our plans for digitalisation are a major step in driving up quality and safety of care that people receive. Let me start with digital social care records. I've seen for myself on many visits to care homes how many of those providers are still dependent on paper records. They're painstakingly filling them in multiple times a day. And yet digital social care records integrated with relevant health information are vital in ensuring that staff have the right information when someone is in their care. They mean multidisciplinary teams are looking at the same information and can make better decisions. We talk a lot about integration, but what more practical example could there be than this? And these tools, they're not only going to help on integration, they also reduce the administrative burden on staff, with early evidence showing that digital social care records can save staff about 20 minutes per shift. When you multiply that by the 1.5 million people working in care, that is a vast amount of time. Time that our social care staff, under such pressure these past 2 years, could use delivering more personalised care and really connecting with people. So that's why we've set ourselves the goal of supporting at least 80% of providers to adopt digital social care record by March 2024, up from 40% today. Falls prevention is another area we have identified as an early priority. 40% of admissions to care homes from the community are due to falls, and the numbers really are staggering. Around 1 in 3 adults over 65 and half of people over 80 will have at least one fall a year, and these falls are estimated to cost the NHS about £2 billion a year. And behind these statistics are people with debilitating injuries and lasting impacts on their confidence and well-being. Evidence shows that acoustic monitoring technologies deployed in care homes can reduce falls by around 40% and subsequent hospital admissions by around 20%. These technologies, as I'm sure you know, work by monitoring sound in someone's room and dispatching care staff when a fall risk is detected in their activity. This has the knock-on benefit of ensuring more residents of care homes can sleep through the night without being repeatedly disturbed during night rounds. So the benefits for people living in care homes are clear. And so we've set ourselves the goal of ensuring that the 20% most vulnerable residents have access to acoustic monitoring by March 2024. The applications for preventative technologies are clearly far broader than this, including a full spectrum of technologies that can support people to live independently in their own homes for longer, from off-the-shelf consumer technology like Alexa through to products that are designed for people living with dementia. And we'll be launching a new scheme to test care technologies and scale them where there is proven benefit, building the case for further change and innovation across the sector. We also recognise that not all providers are starting from the same place, and there are some that will need support to put the essential building blocks in place to kickstart their digitalisation. So we'll be ensuring that care homes can access high-speed internet connection, putting fibre broadband connections in place for the remaining 1,000 or so homes that are stuck with slow connections. And for home care providers, we will be exploring what support they will need to work digitally. For example, we'll be looking at how we can get the best deals with mobile data providers so the workforce can get online when they need to, ensuring they can access vital information about people's care whilst on the move. And importantly, we're already supporting providers to boost their cyber resilience, which is such a crucial step as newly digitised organisations begin interacting with their partners in the NHS, handling information about people's care. We'll also be delivering a comprehensive digital learning offer for the social care workforce, ensuring staff have the capability to drive digitisation in their own organisations. Without these essential foundations in place, and although I've skirted over the skills one, I think that's hugely important, our ambitions to digitise the sector won't be realised. It's so important that we work together across the sector because we can't get reform right without the help of everyone in this room. Officials in the NHS Transformation Directorate, what was NHSX, who work hand in glove with my team, have led an open and collaborative way of working with the sector to develop this strategy, working with and listening to national bodies, providers, staff, and people with lived experience, and commissioning research that has given us insights and evidence to develop a plan that shifts the dial on digital in the sector. We remain committed to working closely with stakeholders from across both private and public sectors to inform future cross-government action. That co-production is absolutely critical. This includes responding to the changing needs of the telecare sector as we approach the migration to digital phone lines to ensure that this is managed effectively. The telecare industry provides a vital service for people drawing on care, giving both them and their families comfort in knowing they can call for help when they need it with the push of a button. So it's crucial that the upcoming migration to digital phone lines is managed effectively. And I've seen that this issue has been picked up in the national press recently. The good news is that we've already seen parts of the country transforming their services, from Liverpool in the northwest to Norfolk in the east. But this work isn't anywhere near done, and more planning and provision is needed across the country. So we're proud to be working with the TSA to analyse analogue and digital solutions across different alarm receiving centre platforms to ensure we have the best evidence on how existing equipment will work over a digital phone line. It's important that everyone working in telecare works together, so I'm particularly pleased to see that the analogue to digital switchover is part of the workshop discussions at today's conference. We'll be publishing a stakeholder action plan in early summer that outlines work underway and would encourage everyone in this room to join us on that journey. So I'm going to finish now and say thank you to all of you and let us drive forward personalised care with the individual at the heart together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Michelle. And there'll be an opportunity to ask Michelle and our next speaker some questions in the not too distant future. So I'm delighted now to invite Caroline Lamb, who is the Director General of Health and Social Care and Chief Executive of NHS Scotland, to come and address us. Over to you.
Thanks very much. Good morning, everybody. And I'm going to echo what Michelle said about just how great it is after 2 years to be out, frankly, and to be able to be here in person. It's actually lovely to meet Michelle in person as well, because we've been talking on screen for some time now. And I'm also delighted to have the opportunity to be here and to discuss and learn more about the contribution that digital approaches can make to the recovery and redesign of health and care services as part of this TSA conference. In Scotland, as elsewhere, digital approaches have been central to how we've responded to the pandemic. We've seen the really rapid acceleration of solutions that were already tried and tested, but maybe not as well as adopted as they might have been. And we've shown how we can address new challenges at speed. Overall, the experience we've been through has demonstrated that we can deliver services in new and sustainable ways. We need to hang on to that, and we need to continue to explore new options, and this conference is key to that. Because we've got a huge amount to do. The pandemic has created backlogs in planned care as we've had to pivot resources to the urgent response, and it's shone a light on the fragility of some of our services, particularly in adult social care, and it's exacerbated health inequalities. It's also stretched our workforce like never before. People have gone above and beyond in their response to COVID every single day, and they continue to do that. I am enormously grateful. So COVID's been hugely damaging, but it's also given us an opportunity to rethink how we provide services, to prioritise preventative and proactive responses, giving people the tools to support themselves and focusing on building resilience in communities. It's emphasised the importance of sharing information across boundaries and of supporting and valuing our workforce. If ever there was a time for change, it's now. In Scotland, we're taking this work forward through our care and wellbeing portfolio of work. That work has a clear mission of improving healthy life expectancy and reducing health inequalities. It seeks to ensure that people get the right care at the right time and in the right place, and that we focus on prevention and early intervention, including the establishment of a national care service, and that we support communities, the independent sector, the third sector and the public sector to work together. The portfolio approach also recognises that poverty, poor housing, poor employment, educational attainment and the quality of the environment all have a huge influence on health outcomes. So we need to work outside health and social care to maximise our impact and to ensure that through our employment practices, our spending power, our approach to net zero, we maximise the benefit to communities and continue our work to reduce child poverty. Recovery is important, but recovery can't be about going back to where we were. What we want to achieve now isn't new. It's about delivering person-centred care, closer to people, being clear about what is best planned and delivered locally, regionally and nationally, and working together differently across Scotland. What has to be new is how we take the learning from the pandemic to deliver real improvements at pace. Our vision is also absolutely centred around an appreciation that people and not hospitals or services, need to be at the heart of how we work together to plan for the future. It reflects the importance of transforming care within people's homes and within their local communities. Innovation and the use of digital technologies will be key to being able to deliver right care at the right time and in the right place. So we'll focus on collaborative working with industry and our innovation centres, whilst ensuring that we take the public with us and remembering that this isn't about technology for technology's sake. It's about improving access to services and outcomes for individuals. Already, our Remote Health Pathways programme, recently rebranded as Connect Me, supports people with long-term health conditions such as high blood pressure, COPD, asthma, and more recently, acute COVID monitoring. We'll also continue to expand programmes of work such as Hospital at Home to provide additional capacity within health and care services and increase the capability to develop virtual wards. Innovation and technology underpins all of this work. The task is to make sure that we focus our resources on the innovation and the technologies that will contribute towards that wider aim of improving health outcomes. And Scotland's no different to the rest of the UK. Our social care system is under significant pressure. We've seen increased need associated with factors such as an older age demographic and also increased frailty associated with the pandemic. We see resources that are struggling to keep pace with need and major challenges in workforce recruitment and retention. And addressing all of those challenges is vital to preventing admission, to facilitating rapid discharge, and to making sure that people are supported to live the best lives that they can in their communities. I think you've got the opportunity later on the agenda today to hear a bit more in detail about the approaches that Scotland's taking to progress digital telecare and improved approaches in social care, so I'll be brief here. But what I will say is that while digital is playing a transformative role in parts of the sector, its potential is still largely underdeveloped. The rapid implementation of video to support home working, to support remote consulting, and other technologies through the pandemic has led to an appetite to explore alternative working arrangements, as well as new ways to deliver care and support digitally. We need to seize the moment. A key commitment of our digital health and care strategy is to develop a digital front door. The digital front door will support the people of Scotland to access a wide range of self-served health and social care resources and services in a variety of channels. The service will be built on a common approach to online identity, where personal data is controlled by the individual and people are able to authenticate their identity. It will enhance access and convenience, providing a better, more consistent service experience to users, and will reduce the administrative workload on staff and services. In many ways, I hope that it'll start to bring our approach to self-service in health and social care a bit closer to the 21st century and a bit more akin to the technologies that we all engage with in other facets of our lives. And as we progress this development, it will be absolutely critical that we work closely with the other nations, all of whom have similar developments in train, to share and learn from each other. Data, of course, is absolutely vital to how we can deliver more person-centred care, as well as ensuring that we've got a smooth-running and efficient end-to-end health and care system. Whether that's data that can help us to predict when somebody's likely to have a fall, data which informs public health messaging aimed at individuals, or simply the data that means that workers have access to the information they need to support the people they're caring for. It's absolutely key. We're currently developing a data strategy for health and care, which will set out an ambitious vision of how we can better use health and care data and maximise it for public benefit. We recognise the need to build public trust around the use of data and their ownership of data, and are currently involved in stakeholder engagement, including with many citizens on this issue. We have to focus on outcomes that matter to people, developed through meaningful involvement of people. And it's no small task, but getting the use of data right will be vital to recovery and essential to building a sustainable health and care service for the future. And of course, on top of investing in technology, we also need to be investing in service change and service redesign. And to enable ongoing transformation, we need a workforce with digital skills and capabilities, and we need leadership at all levels. So we're investing in the Building Digital Skills and Leadership programme led by NHS Education for Scotland, working in collaboration with a wide range of partners and stakeholders. We'll also continue to develop our use of digital tools and resources to help our workforce to be able to work more efficiently, to take out some of the clunkiness of existing processes, and to support the health and well-being of the people who work across our health and social care services. Our focus always has to be on people, so digital inclusion also more than ever must be at the heart of what we do. Whilst technology can and does transform lives for the better, we must ensure that no one's left behind. And we'll do that in part through our commitment to co-produce solutions with citizens in line with service design principles. We're really proud of the work that we've taken forward throughout the pandemic to support people in our care homes and other vulnerable people to get online and to access services in ways which they previously would not have considered or would not have had the resources to be able to do. And it's important that we continue to listen to their views and design services with the people who can ultimately benefit most. So I'm going to stop there. At the heart of our recovery is the ambition to ensure that services are clustered around the individual rather than the person having to navigate between services. And digital can be a really powerful enabler of that vision. So thanks for your attention this morning. Thanks for inviting me to speak. I know Michelle and I would be very happy to try and answer questions. Equally, we don't pretend to have all the answers, so we'd be really interested to hear your views and experience too. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you both for your presentations and setting out the ambitious agendas that both governments have in England and Scotland. We're now going to open this up for some questions. There's a couple of ways in which people can do this. There will be some people wandering around the auditorium with placards, which will either have the number 2, which that one does, or someone else will have the one up there which says number 1. If you wave at them, they will catch your eye and they will come to you, and I will then invite you to ask a question. And if you are anxious about getting up and asking a question in person, of course we have the app as well, and the app has within it the function to pose a question and then I can ask it on your behalf. So I'm going to start with a question from the information I already have, and then I'm going to look to the audience to see if there are any questions that people want to ask in person. So really this is a question to both Michelle and Caroline. In mobilising your strategies, the strategy set out in the white paper and the strategy set out in the Scottish Government strategy, what do you need from this industry and what do you need from the TSA? And I'm going to sort of start with Michelle and come to Caroline after that.
I think it's just staying really close to us, and that's the onus is on us to enable that as well. I mean, I think what was really great in working towards our white paper in the autumn was the co-production, and people throw that term around very easily. I think we genuinely did co-produce our white paper, and as I said, we had more than 200 organisations involved. I want to really continue that as we go forwards. You know, our white paper is actually pretty high level, inevitably so, because our ambitions are very big. We only got the money for them in the autumn. So we've now got to really get underneath and sort of develop the next level of detail. In fact, on the tech side, our ambitions are maybe more developed than in other areas. So what I'd be really keen for the TSA to do and for those in this room to do is to keep alongside us, to keep that co-production going so that we can make the very best use of this amazing amount of money that we've got, 5.4 billion over the next 3 years. That's sort of extraordinary, really, in terms of investment for reform of social care. So to keep close to us, and as I say, that has to be a two-way street. We need to reach out to you, and you need to reach out to us.
Okay, thank you. Caroline.
Yeah, so I think my response will be very similar. I think that it is about being really clear about the outcomes that we're trying to deliver here. And one of the things that struck me over the last 2 years is what a huge amount we can achieve when we have a single focus. And we've had that single focus in terms of battling a virus. So how do we retain that absolutely prioritised focus in terms of tackling some of the challenges that we see across our health and social care systems? So I think we need to keep focused on the outcomes and need to be really clear about where we're most likely to get the benefit for those outcomes. So I think maybe it's back to the TSA around how you can support some of that evidence gathering around impact that would help us to make the right decisions and to invest the funding that we have most appropriately.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I think there's a question there at the panel. Is there a question? No. Okay, so one of the other questions, there's a group of questions that have come up and they're all anonymous, so I don't know who's asked them on the Q&A. And they tend to be, and I can see a hand's just gone up over there, so if number 2 would like to get to where the gentleman is, then I can come to them in a moment, about the role of commissioners, and whether that's in the deployment of acoustic monitoring or whether it's in the deployment of the actual of new service models or whatever. And a sort of sense from the questioning about to the extent to which commissioners are engaging in a forward and future-focused way. In other words, are they commissioning and contracting for, if you like, innovation? So I guess the question really is, what can each of you do through the levers that government has to try and promote more innovative commissioning activity as we move forward? I'm going to start with Caroline this time.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, we have quite different landscapes in terms of commissioning between England and Scotland. But so speaking from a Scottish government perspective, I think there are some huge opportunities in the work that was triggered by the independent review of adult social care led by Derek Feely. And that is now moved into the programme for government around the establishment of a national care service to look at how we are more consistent in our approach to social care across Scotland. And I think that is not just about having really strong standards in maybe the more traditional areas, but actually I think that starts to give us an opportunity to get into those more innovative areas and be clear that actually we do need to go beyond analogue and we need to move into digital ways of supporting people, and we need to think really imaginatively because there are some huge challenges for us all.
Michelle.
So how can we in government help commissioners to be more innovative? I mean, so in England, commissioning, as you know, is through local authorities. I'd sort of give 2 answers to that question. One is that, well, I mean, I'm guessing there are lots of people from local authorities here today, which is absolutely great. We work very closely with ADAS and the LGA, and they were very much involved and continue to be in our white paper. And I think Gillian Keegan mentioned our models of care £30 million pot, which is all about we want local authorities and other commissioners to bid into that as we design it to develop new models of care, many of which may be tech-enabled, and see how we could scale those. Because we know there's some really great things going. I mean, the example that's always cited to me is in Hampshire, but I mean, I saw from the video, Paul, at the outset, you know, some amazing things going on, but a lot of them tend to be quite small scale. So how can we take them and develop them further? The other thing I would say on local authorities is one of our innovations, not tech innovations, but one of the things that we're doing that I think could be really quite transformative is a new power for the Care Quality Commission to hold local government to account for how it commissions. And this, what we hope this will do is to bring some sort of transparency to what goes on in local government to a greater level than we've got at the moment, and enable the sharing of best practice so that you'll be able to see if one local authority is doing something really brilliant in terms of the commissioning of tech-enabled care. The other thing I should just mention is the integrated care systems, which Paul, I think you said you're the chair of one of them. So we're setting a lot of them are set up already across the country, and we're legislating for them at the moment. And those will bring together sort of health and care, and hopefully enable again the sort of sharing of that best practice, the join up, the integration across health and care, but from a sort of technology perspective too. So I think there's lots of real opportunity in terms of commissioning over the next few years. We've just got to realise it.
Okay, thank you. Now, there was a person at the back there, yes. So if you've got the microphone, sir, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, thank you very much. Hopefully the panel can hear me and this microphone's on. Lewis Sheldrake, Lead Commissioner for Innovation and Personalisation at the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham. Professor Burstow helpfully set out at the beginning how we're all in this room, I think, sharing the aspiration to see growth in this particular sector. And part of that is going to mean winning the argument across a number of other areas to make this happen. Clearly, there are a number of other implications which could rub up against that. And I'm particularly keen to understand, Caroline, from your perspective, how we can reconcile the aspiration for greater use of technology against that of aspirations for net zero and climate change, given everything around supply chains, cost of energy prices, etc. Thank you.
Right. Caroline, that was directed at you, so I'm going to ask you to respond to that question.
So I don't think that it's unreconcilable. What we've seen through the use of Near Me in Scotland is a really, really significant reduction in travel. So I'm talking from an NHS perspective here in terms of the use of Near Me, particularly for follow-up consultations and whilst I've had a couple of surgeons say to me, well, they quite miss seeing patients coming and bringing them packets of biscuits, etc. They do recognise that actually in terms of the use of time, but also the reduction in miles, and I can't off the top of my head remember the number of miles, but we have reduced travel significantly over the last year by the use of Near Me. So I think that's just one example. Clearly there are other areas that we need to address and we need to continue to think about. But I think that it's a challenge on both fronts. We need to make sure that we're addressing both things.
Great, thank you very much. And there was a question, which I may ask the person who asked actually themselves, from Angus Honeysett around integration. Are you in the room, sir? Would you like to ask your question in person? So the microphone's on its way to you. I think this is probably going to go to Michelle.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. So my question is around the integration of health and social care, and social care being seen as a poor second to the NHS and to health. And my question is, how do we actually make sure that social care carries on having a place and is raised to similar levels to that of the NHS?
Thank you. So I don't think, I understand where the question comes from, but I don't think it is a poor second to the NHS. I think the place of social care is sort of embedded in the community is really quite different to the place of the NHS. And I think we have to, as we've been saying, Caroline talked about, build from the pandemic. There was amazing collaborative working during the pandemic between health and social care. The way they came together, for example, to deliver vaccines into care homes, just one example of many, or the way care staff took on what would traditionally have been sort of health responsibilities in care homes, or indeed in home care, was just amazing. So I think that sense of collaboration, if we can build on that, so rather than seeing is it health or is it social care, is one sort of does one have primacy or the other? I think that sense of collaboration, we're in this together. And I'm really encouraged by all the excitement around integrated care systems. Wherever I go, people are so sort of energized by them. And the idea, for example, of getting your integrated care systems to facilitate, we have two completely different workforces. One is public sector and one is private sector. But if the ICS could sort of bring those two workforces together and see opportunities for how people can have career paths over both, which is what I'm hearing about as I sort of go around the country, then I think there's reason to be really optimistic about that collaboration rather than seeing the two services in opposition to each other.
And would you like to just build on that?
Yeah. So I absolutely agree with Michelle. I don't think that social care is or can be a poor relative. the social care system is absolutely fundamental to having a health and social care system that operates efficiently, effectively, and gives people what they need. And I actually think that what we need to be doing is investing more in the social care system in order to shift that balance away from the acute sector. Because actually we should only be using the acute sector for people who absolutely need to be in the acute sector. We should be much more focused on how we can support multidisciplinary teams in communities to keep people well in their own communities, to prevent hospital admissions, and in the cases where people do need to be admitted, to get them back into their communities as soon as possible. So I would argue that the social care system absolutely is critical to all of that.
So critical to all of that, and I just want to end this session by saying big thank you to both of you for coming to this conference, for taking part in this session. I know you're going to be around, I think, for the rest of the day, so there's opportunities hopefully for people to have conversations with you. Please do visit the exhibition. There's lots going on there. But for the moment, can you please show your appreciation to Caroline and Michelle? Thank you very much. Right, so our next speaker is going to come onto the stage as we walk off, and we're going to go this way. And that is Alison Scurfield, who we already know, and she is going to give us a presentation on some of the work the TSA has been doing around our new model.
Okay, and I think for the tech sector, Paul mentioned our vision 5, 6, 7 years ago of putting people choosing technology-enabled care to enrich and enhance their lives. Now, I see Paul Sheed sitting right in the middle there, and as a board, that was our ambition, wasn't it? So, you know, engaging with our colleagues in government, they're here today for you, the tech sector, because they see the importance that we can make. I have sat on and collaborated with the government. So that 10-week collaboration was spectacular before Christmas, bringing all the people together, the people with voices. And so I thank you, Michelle, about really getting into the people at the heart of care. I truly believe that the tech sector will listen to. And what you see is we've talked a lot about strategies, and when I went to Scotland, to Holyrood, they're all aligned, and you've heard from Michelle and Caroline how aligned the strategies are, and it's all about people. But we are delivering services and putting people at the heart of our communities. We are given choice and control in communities, and we are getting a voice for the first time. So I'm hoping what you're going to see and what you're going to learn over the next 2 days will give you confidence that the TSA and the tech sector is truly integrating and being that glue for health, housing and social care. And delivering, we'll keep repeating this over the 2 days, the right care at the right time for the right person. I'm delighted, this is the part of the conference where you really bring this to life. And I am pleased that Caroline and Michelle are here to just listen to what good looks like for PAM in communities.
I'm Pam, I'm 84. I do object when people look at you and think that you're old, but you're not inside. I've still got a very active mind. I just wish people would realise that you're still somebody else inside this horrible old body that's gradually falling apart. Suddenly found myself in a situation where I'd lost my youngest son, and my husband died within 6 weeks quite suddenly, and I hadn't had my knees done then. I couldn't walk and I couldn't see very well because I had cataracts. It was just so traumatic. I just went to pieces. I didn't know anybody up here. I didn't know any of the systems up here. And I just panicked. I thought, well, don't know what to do. What am I going to do? I've always had David there, sort of 62 years we were together. So, you know, suddenly I was on my own.
Pam is a recipient of a piece of technology. It consists of a number of very small, barely perceptible motion sensors. All these sensors gather data. What time does that person usually get up in the morning? Do they then normally go from the bedroom to the bathroom? Do they go straight to the kitchen? Do they put the kettle on? Do they open the fridge? So it's looking at somebody's lifestyle in the round.
All of the sensors that we have around Pam's house send all the data through to the website that we use to access all the information. So anytime something happens that the system thinks is out of the norm, we will get an alert, and then we put a pair of human eyes on it and decide if that's something that we need to investigate further. The things that we're really looking for that can be indicators of something a bit more serious going on are things like more trips to the toilet than normal, spending an awful long time in the bathroom, waking up for extended periods at night. The idea that we can put what amounts to some fairly simple tech with some very clever behind the scenes stuff into someone's home and know before they even realise that something is going on, and we can get that help before it gets to a crisis point, is the absolute crux of this.
What's different about this project is not the technology, because we've been using the sensors for a long time. It's the data enabling us to properly evidence the amount of support somebody needs, to right-size their package of care. So we've been able to reduce care down. It wasn't about cost savings, it was about right-sizing for the individual. We've also had other individuals who were absolutely destined for a residential care placement, and using this technology we were able to keep them in their own homes for longer.
There can be an element of overprescription when you don't know what the person really needs. So it's useful to know that you've got an extra level of assurance when people go, and quite often families want that as well, because if they live far away.
The home-based care is about £19,000 a year, and we know that residential care costs on average £38,000, and we know that the sensors that we're talking about costs about £1,000 a year. So although sometimes you will be using technology alongside care and support, so the savings won't always be as great, you can see that there's an absolute opportunity there.
For us, it's much more than the technology, and I think we've always approached our service from that side. The real aim of the service is to enable someone to remain independent in their home. One of the key bits with Pam was around that ongoing support, where we're able to link her in through weekly calls to gardening services, the social centres, the shopping trips, to build up communities.
Being able to have just those tiniest little touches, those tiniest little interventions where we can just very gently refocus them in the right direction. It's those really small changes that actually make the real difference in people's lives.
I can't praise Mole Valley enough, I really can't. I know that there is a system there that's monitoring me, and I'm not on my own anymore. It's a reassurance. They've encouraged me to go back to the community centre where I used to do art classes, and literally they've pulled me out of the hole that I was in. Everything has come together all of a sudden, and I've got a new life.
As we all know in this room, Pam's not alone. There's many Pams out there across the whole of the UK that's getting personalised, preventative, proactive services in our communities. And I think we've, grown up as a sector during COVID. We've challenged ourselves. We did do it all, and we've been making a real difference for people's lives in our communities. So the outcomes are clear for Pam. This is the model that we've been building for the last 6 to 7 years. We've refined it time and time again. And as Paul said earlier, you see Pam as a progression of need. We need to get her back through to enabling, preventing and enhancing. And that story that she's telling there is exactly that. As her needs progress, Mole Valley have been able to adapt the services and the provision. So they're clear for Pam. She's living safe in a community, the place she calls home. She's right size in the care package of care. There's economic benefits, but they're not the important benefits. It's how Pam lives her life. Now, there's a lot of blended people that wrap around this model. So data, people and partnerships to make it work. Trusted advisors, community signposting, remodeling and reablement, to complex needs and support. This can all be delivered in communities. You're going to hear so many other stories over the next 2 days of real implementation in communities that you can all learn from. We still are on a journey. So you see the enablers at the bottom of that screen. These are the enablers that we've used in Mull Valley, but there's still that enabler at the bottom, interoperability. And these are the challenges that we've just heard from our speakers this morning about getting this right. Interoperability of systems and interoperability of people. So let's talk about how do we move this strategy, this wonderful putting people at the heart of care, into reality. We've got to think about strong implementation. And my call to action is about those 5 steps. First, co-production. The white paper is firmly embedded in co-production in its design, but in its delivery. We are working really closely with our government partners in terms of that implementation, because without strong implementation, we won't see the effect. And after 3 years of a 10-year vision, we won't see the reality that we need in the communities. So co-production is at the heart and the core. Workforce vision and leadership. You've heard from both of our speakers this morning how important that is. But each and every one of you in the room is a leader. And each and every one of you needs to have the vision to take this forward back in your communities. Standards. We talk about standards a lot, interoperability. We talk about a lot of service standards and quality. You heard that CQC are working with, and we're going to hear this afternoon from David and CQC about that new assurance model in our communities. Evidence and evaluation. There's plenty of evidence and evaluation benefit realization, but it's got to be at the heart and the core of your delivery model. On the innovation stage, you'll hear from our colleagues in Carmarthenshire, from Surrey, and from other key players in the whole of the UK who have been actually making this a reality. But the final element there is when we went out with our ADAS Commission in November, it was really clear that our DASs and our communities in social care were saying they have no headspace. They need the time and the support. We are saying the 5th plank there to implementation, to create this blueprint that we see in this preventative model, is to have the resource out there to help you and support you to make this a reality. So have a fantastic day. What I do say is common purpose from all of us. We can make this a reality, and I do see the sea change of how we got that voice. We did do it all, and we certainly got people listening, and I will personally take things forward to support the tech sector to have a voice in our government implementation moving forward. Have a fantastic 2 days. We'll see you on stage in the innovation in a few minutes, but have a great time. Thank you.
I think actually Alison has just closed this session, so I don't really need to come and do it, but I'm going to do it because that's what I'm being paid to do and I want to do, so thank you all very much for staying. I think we've had a great opening session. I think some really important messages that we've heard. I just want to share one reflection on what we've heard so far, and which I think ought to be a theme of this conference, and that is that we don't let the best become the enemy of the good, that we don't let the relentless search for more evidence to prove a thing that is already happening on the ground before you do it anywhere else, that there is enough evidence of practice through innovative leadership through commissioners in local government, through innovative providers of service in this room, to get on and start to make a difference across the country. The future is here, it's just not well distributed. We need to start distributing it more evenly. Thank you all very much for being in this room for this session. Enjoy the innovation stage, enjoy the exhibition, and we'll see you back in here at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Thank you very much.